goal kicker, Taylor Walker, with a welcome off. Here's Rosselli. Rosselli kicks the goal.
Handball to the excitement machine, McLeod. Left foot goal.
Oh, don't tell me.
He's a superstar.
Don't tell me. Oh! He's yet to kick an AFL goal. Oh, the velvet curtain.
Walker, oh, he's a colossus. He's kicked 5. He's been a handful. He's been the difference.
To cover himself in glory.
He's coming back.
And got there.
Welcome to this week's episode of the Proper Crows podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or listening on YouTube at the moment. Thank you very much for your support as always. My name's Ben, not here by myself today. I've got Dom joining me, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. Very good. Glad to be back after missing last week, and especially glad to be back on the winners sheet again.
100%. That's the wins are the ones you want to talk about. The losses aren't so easy. 100%.
Yeah.
Of course, today we'll be running through the round 11 win against the West Coast Eagles from today, the SANFL loss against Sturt from yesterday afternoon, bit of general news, and of course an early preview of our clash with the Swans. We'll get straight into it. Dom, what was the score from today? It was a bit of a roll-in, roll-out game, not much to it, but we ended up getting a pretty big win.
We did indeed. So it was Adelaide 19-14, 128 to West Coast 8-14, 62. So quite a convincing win in the end. The crowd was actually not bad. I'll just say it quickly for a Sunday 12:40 time slot. So good on you if you got out there in the time slot. But yeah, it was an interesting game to say the least. I think the first half was interesting to say the least. Yeah, it was a bit sloppy, and I think you got to pay credit. I think the Eagles were playing well in the first half. Like we made a few unforced errors, but I think a lot of it actually came down to their pressure as well, and ours probably wasn't where it needed to be. But we corrected in the end, and we got there. There was a fucking spread of goal kickers as well, which is always nice. So we had Rash with 5, and then Dawson, Thilthorpe, Peatling, and Pedler with 2, and then Rankin, Fogg, Nibbler, Keys, the Barometer, and Berry all with 1 each. So yeah, pretty nice all-round team performance in the end.
Yeah, no, it was a good spread in the end, and we would have liked our man the Fog to kick maybe 1 or 2 more up on the hill, but that's all right. We were
a few words were had.
Few words said, absolutely. Now, of course, the changes to the teams this week was initially Nank out, Pedler in, but we had a late change today that was probably the most predictable late change you could have ever seen. Tex got a rest and Sid came in as a sub this week. I was pretty happy with the changes there. I wasn't fully expecting Pedler to get a go, but I think he's probably earned it with his SANFL form.
Yeah, I agree. It was a shock, but it's not a bad one. Like, he definitely warranted coming into the side, and he was good. Like, he kind of proved that he belongs at the level. I'm still not 100% certain if he'll stay in the side, but you can't fault his performance really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then I think Sid came on for just over a quarter and didn't do a hell of a lot, but it's a hard game, especially coming into the third quarter. We kicked 7 goals in the third quarter, and you come on towards the end of that when we've really kind of just killed the game through that quarter. And he's still I think the issue was he didn't really impact it much because it was like he had 9 touches, I think. But I don't necessarily think he did a lot with it. But like you said, it kind of came on when the game was already kind of dead, and he had a couple of interesting moments. That one where he was running inside 50 and looked like he was absolutely going to slot that one, and then he somehow didn't even make the distance. That was an interesting one. I think we were all kind of getting ready to go up because we love it when Sid gets a goal. But like I said, it was kind of the tale of the day. Just some weird incidents and moments that happened, and so I'm not faulting him, and the only thing I will fault about that is that I don't understand why we were playing late change mind games against the 18th place club on a Sunday at 12:40. But
we're not coaches, so who knows what the plan was there. Maybe they were looking at playing Tex, and then it was, I don't know. I feel like that was planned, though, 100%.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, I'm just looking at their emergencies. Bo Allen, Clay Hall, and is it Archer Reed? Is that his name? Yeah,
Yeah.
from them. I mean, were they trying to see what they would bring in? Maybe they were seeing if it was going to rain or not, but then that would probably be the opposite decision, because if it was raining, then you'd bring the small in and keep the tool out. Yeah, I don't know. It's a bit
Yeah, that's what
strange for me, but
I don't get it. Like, I saw a bit of commentary on Twitter about it. Not necessarily negative, just saying it's a bit odd to um, do that kind of thing against. Not to like, rub dirt on West Coast, but they are 18th, and it was, we were heavily favoured. It was at home, and it was a Sunday at 12:40. It wasn't exactly prime time. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, odd decision, but I think it didn't really surprise anyone, and I think everyone kind of thought it was the right thing to do anyway. So, um, yeah, I won't complain too much more.
Yeah, no, it got the job done at the end of the day, so it doesn't really matter too much, I guess. But it was interesting. Interesting is probably the best word. And of course, Lukey Pedler did come in and have himself a very good game. We'll expand on that in just a moment. But as we said, the first half was very sloppy. I think we went in at halftime, 17 points in front.
Yeah.
Was only a goal in front at quarter time. And then we just decided to come out in the third quarter and just pop 7 goals on their heads and just really blow the game open, like we said. And then the last quarter was probably just a little bit sloppy again. But early on, we couldn't hit a target. We turned it over, I don't know how many times. It was a tough watch for that first half.
Some grim turnovers, dude, especially just dumb ones as well that shouldn't have been turnovers, like just dump kicks across back 50, or trying to take on the corridor and just completely missing the kicks. Like, it was, and you could tell the crowd was getting disgruntled as well, because there was a few moments where you could hear that collective groan around the whole ground when we turn it over. And again, don't want to rub dirt on West Coast, but if we were playing another team, I think it would have been a lot worse with the way we played. If we played, especially if it was a Collingwood last week, or anyone that can get you real bad on transit. If we do that against Brisbane, we're in some strife, because anyone that can hit you in transition, we would have been absolutely fucked.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We left ourselves open, and fortunately, like you said, we were playing against a team who, respectfully, not that great. So it worked out okay, but I don't really want to see much of that going forward again, because the first half we could have been in some real trouble. I mean, we were just literally kicking straight to them. In multiple occasions, we were kicking to a 2-on-1 to start with, and then we would kick it directly to the West Coast player and not even give our player a chance. It was,
And so much of it was just under no pressure as well. There was moments where it was just complete brain fades, and you just it's a bit different when they're forced errors, because you kind of forgive it. You still don't want to, but it's a bit more forgivable. But when it's unforced, some of the stuff that happened early on in the game, and even in the last quarter, it's frustrating. But again, I guess it's one of those things. We'll iron it out, and they'll review it, and they'll fix it. But yeah, it's not fun at the time for anyone. I don't think. Can't imagine the players enjoy it either. So
yeah, no, they obviously don't want to be doing that sort of stuff out there. I suppose it's just one of those ones where just nothing would go right. So fix it up, move on to Sydney next week, and come out next week and hopefully do a lot better than what we did in that first half. But that being said, I mean, the third quarter was electric. We were all over it.
It was bloody beautiful, and we could have put on a few more. I think we ended up kicking 7 goals, 7. So, if we kicked a bit straighter, it could have been a lot worse. And that's kind of what, I think we know as supporters, and the club knows, that when we play our best footy, we're pretty hard to stop, especially with the ball movement. And that's all that happened in the third quarter. We just clicked, and we were moving the ball freely, and lo and behold, we score from it. Who would have thought?
Yeah, no, footy's a pretty simple game when you break it down and actually play the fundamentals well. But obviously you got an opposition out there to deal with as well. But yeah, when you get our ball movement going, we're a very good team. It's just a matter of the consistency and probably bridging the gap a little bit between our best and our worst, and then we'd be right up there in the top sort of, at least top half of the league.
Yeah,
Sitting in the top
correct.
4 at the moment, so clearly going pretty well. But hopefully that continues on through the year, and we have more of those patches like the third quarter, and just put a lot of games to bed early. But we'll
Yeah,
see how we go.
yeah, absolutely.
We'll move on to Luke Pedler now, who returned after... When was the last time he played? He played Geelong last year, but I think he got injured the week after, maybe.
Yeah, I
Or
reckon he
Freo or
played.
something the week after.
Yeah, I think he played one game last year, but it's definitely his first feature this year. We'll tell you that much.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, well, it didn't take him too long to get involved. I think he kicked the second goal of the day. He only had 11
Yeah,
disposals, actually, at the end of it, but... had 8 kicks, 3 handballs, 3 tackles, 4 marks. He kicked 2 goals, 1. He was playing that small forward role very, very well. And just looking at his heat map at the moment, played up the ground a little bit, up the wing a little bit too, which was probably not really expected, but good to see him get up there and get around the ball a bit more.
yeah, for
He,
sure.
was doing pretty well there. Let's see his tackle stats. He said 3. But yeah, I was pretty happy with his game. I mean, he came in, we weren't really sure what to expect, and I think it was you that was saying a couple of weeks ago that obviously that Geelong game against Tom Stewart killed his confidence a little bit and hadn't really been
Yeah,
the same player since. But if he can come into the squad and play a game like that, I'd be pretty happy to have him in the best 23.
yeah, and that's the thing. You hope he just maintains the rage and that form, and he'll definitely hold his spot. I think. Like, I'm not. Obviously, you need to see the consistency. Like, um, if he stays in and has a stinker, then maybe it's a different conversation. But all very positive signs out of today. I think he was clean with the ball. He took that cracking mark in the goal square and then managed to get a shot from straight out in front when it probably wasn't. It was probably on an angle, but we'll, um, take what you're given really. And yeah, that's the thing. He got his opportunity, and I think he took it. And yeah, can't fault him. It was a pretty good performance, especially with the role he was playing. Like, it gets talked about all the time that like small pressure forward role is probably one of the hardest roles to play in footy, and I thought he played it quite well. So
Yeah, no, I tend to agree, and yeah, definitely his dive helped him with that mark in the goal square, which probably
yeah,
wasn't really in the goal square, but he dived into the goal square, which
he
probably
fell
made
into
it.
the goal square, he landed in the goal square, so it's a mark in the goal square.
Yeah, no, absolutely, he did very well. And he was one of my favourite players before he went out of the side last year. So I do hope that he can maintain his good form that he started off today, and keep his spot in the squad, and keep rolling with it, because he's a very good player when he's going. And I think he was
Yeah, he
probably
is.
a bit of a... Yeah, just was, his good was really good, but his bad was really bad. And hopefully he's bridged that gap a little bit, and can come into the squad and have an impact for the rest of the year, or however long he's in for, I suppose. But see how he goes. One man who has probably cemented his spot in the squad, Sam Berry. I heard you were loving his game today over there on the
Oh,
hill.
dude.
I think
Oh,
we all were,
dude.
really. And if he took that screamer of a mark in the last, it would have been the best game he's ever played, I reckon.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Would have been the best game he's played. And I'll die on this hill now. I'm so locked into this comment, and I know that it might not be popular, but he is literally just Matt Crouch, but faster. And that is electric. Like, he can get in and under when he needs to. He's so clean in the contest, but then I all I'm saying is imagine Matt Crouch like taking that leap that he did and trying to bring down that mark, because I'm telling you right now he
Yeah.
wouldn't have done it.
I don't
Um,
think Matt Crouch has ever been that high in the air other than when he's been in a plane, mate.
yeah,
I couldn't see him
correct.
getting that high.
And that's the thing. It's such a shit. It's a shit conversation to have, I think, and I think I brought it up a few weeks ago. But if Barrett keeps playing well, I'm gonna find it real stiff for Crouch to like come back into the side, especially with like I don't think you can play both of them. And I think when Berry, again, I think it's a consistency thing with Bez. When he plays well, he's very, very good. Um, so if he can find that consistency, what happens with Crouch. But again, that's a conversation to worry about later, I think. But yeah, it's very nice to have him in there. Very nice. And he was, yeah, like you said, we were all enjoying it today. I think we were making jokes about him aura farming the touches like Dawson was. But yeah, he was unreal today. So you got to give him his credit where credit's due.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you're spot on with the fact that you definitely can't play him and Crouch in the same team. I mean, it's very similar to last year or the year before when we were running around with Laird and Crouch both in the midfield, and you're going,
Yeah,
this isn't really working because they're too slow.
yeah,
Bez has added some pace, but he's not like your Rankin, your Dorse, your Rochelle, those sort of players who can really burst from the pack with a lot of extra speed. But
yeah,
I do agree with you. He is a quicker version of Matt Crouch, and it's been welcome.
yeah,
Matt Crouch is obviously very elite in his own way, and it'll be very interesting to see what they do when he is back from his injury. But you'd be very stiff to say that Sam Berry won't be in the side at that point if he keeps playing
yeah.
like this. I mean,
And
what did he
that's
have today? 26 touches.
yeah, he did. What did he? I had his stats up just here. What did he do? Yeah, like even his game all round was unreal. Like he had, 26, 15 kicks, 11 handballs, 6 marks, 9 tackles, 4 clearances. They even had a goal assist, add that on, 500 metres gained. Like, once again, I don't
Yeah.
think Matt Crouch has ever touched 500 metres gained.
You know what I find really interesting as well, looking at his heat map here, I don't know if you're looking at the AFL app, he actually spent 74% of his time in the defensive half of the ground, and he had 1 goal, and he had a couple of score involvements, but he did most of his work in the back half of the ground. That's interesting for me.
That is interesting. I wonder what prompted
7
that.
score involvements, and he only spent 26% in the offensive half of the ground. That's crazy.
That is crazy. Bloody hell. Well, I mean, it's going to be a shit conversation to have, but yeah, Crouchy might struggle, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. It's a hard role to come back into, I suppose. We have to wait and see how Berry's going, whether he can be consistent through that time.
Yeah,
But, we've got... How long until Crouch
yeah.
is back? It was going to be a little while, I think, wasn't it?
He's still listed at 4 to 6, so
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about it for a little while, but maybe towards September, the latter half of the year, it could be a conversation that needs to be had. But yeah,
and I guess
it'll be interesting.
that's probably, again, we're probably jumping the gun a little bit. It might be a thing of, he might not hold this consistency and he might fall off a cliff and Crouch comes straight back in. So consistency is key, I think, but he's definitely on the right track.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree. Another man on the right track copped a bit of stick earlier in the year, and is a common player who is hated by a few, is Josh Rochelle. Touched a little bit earlier on him kicking 5 snags, but he also had 16 disposals. 14 of those were kicks. He had 6 tackles, 3 marks. Not many turnovers, only the 2 of those. 9 score involvements. He was everywhere up forward. And in that first half especially, he was one player who was relatively clean when it seemed like everyone else seemed to be sloppy and fumbling and everything. He was very good today.
Yeah, he's a star, and there's a few people that doubted him both inside the club. I shouldn't say inside the club, as like supporters of the club and opposition supporters, and I think he's been in great form all year, really. And then this game was just, not, I shouldn't say the cherry on top because there's a long way to go, but I think it was a good showing of what his ceiling is, and if he can get close to this every week, then he's going to have a bloody good career. So, we're very lucky to have him. And there's, like I said, there's a few Crow supporters I know that weren't super sold on him. Circa Zach Warden. I'm assuming he's not gonna. Assuming he's not gonna listen to this because he's a hater. But yeah, cop that. That's all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Zach did switch up after the first couple of rounds this year. He was saying that Rash was his boy, so he could have been very happy sitting at home today on the couch. I note, not at the Adelaide Oval on the hill, watching the
facts,
game.
dude.
Yeah, so he might have been happy with it, but yeah, Rash was very, very good today, and probably stepped up when. I mean, Rankin was pretty good, but he played more up the ground a bit, and Rash was really the main small forward in the forward lines today. So it was very good to see. And another player, another one of my favourites, really. I just love to see him do well, and love the celebrations as well. Flopping around like a fish after one of them was
Yeah, that was
choice,
good.
but
I liked it. Big fan of it.
yeah, absolutely, and he had a great game. He deserves it. Someone whose game has come into a bit of question, both on the hill, online. We've talked about him the last couple of weeks, and actually looking at his stats, it's not as bad as what it felt like at the game. But Isaac Cumming, 16 disposals, 11 kicks, 5 handballs. He had 5 turnovers. Was just a bit, I don't know. He's playing a role that I feel like doesn't get appreciated. So you sit there and watch a game and you're like, yeah, he's annoying me a little bit, and he hasn't really done a lot, but he's probably doing all those little small things in the background that we don't really appreciate and pay attention to. But I don't know what your thoughts were about him, but there were a few times today where there are a few people up on the hill saying, yeah, he's he's not having a great game. And he did, yeah, as I said, 5 turnovers isn't particularly great from 16 disposals, but
He's frustrating, I think, is the best way to put it. And I think you're right. He probably plays a role that doesn't necessarily translate well to the stat sheet, and that's probably why he holds his spot. And I think he is like an out-and-out wingman, and I don't think our play style necessarily suits wingmen. Like, we look into the corridor a lot, and I think people need to keep that in mind as well. Like, I'm not saying that he shouldn't be dropped or he will be dropped, but I think it's important to remember like how often we look in board pretty much every opportunity we get. That doesn't, play well when you're a winger and you're waiting on the wings, waiting for the, not the cheap kicks, but the safer kicks per se.
yeah.
But
No, absolutely.
yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah. No, it's like I said, the wing is a bit of a hard position, and you frequently can have a cold wing, I suppose, on the footy field where all the action's just on the other side sometimes. But I don't know, it just feels like he could be more damaging. I don't know whether it's just a matter of we're looking through it through different glasses or how we're looking at it, but I just feel there could be a bit more that he can do with his game just to be a bit more impactful or
Yeah.
just get a bit more going. But
I think there's just expectation on him as well because he was a new recruit, and in fairness, I think he's probably the one that's underperformed the most. Because like Peatling's been brilliant. He's probably the best of the 3 that we got in from other clubs.
yeah,
And like Nibbler's been great as well, just having the leadership, and he's had a couple of quiet weeks, but even like today had 14, kicked a goal, 5 tackles. Like, he played his role quite well. Whereas like coming again, I don't necessarily think he's playing bad. I just think he's playing below where everyone thought he was going to play. So I think he's fallen victim to expectation.
yeah. No, I tend to agree. And obviously because we chased him so hard and there was, is he going to go to Port? Is he going to go to the Crows? Where's he going to go? And all of that. It built up quite a bit. Hopefully he's able to steady himself and just continue playing a good role. I think if you cut the turnovers out of his game, it probably looks a lot better.
Yeah,
there were just a few where he, and it was everyone on the field, so it's hard to single just him out, but there were a few that just, straight to the opposition and, turn around, back over the head. Not too many goals today coming from the other way, but, West Coast only kicked 8, so there weren't going to be too many, but there were a few mistakes where, like you said earlier, if you're playing a good team, probably get us into a bit of trouble, but it's all right. We'll see how he goes. I don't think he gets a rest yet, but there are a couple of people knocking on the door in the SANFL, judging by the stats. So
yep, that'll be. Yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, I think you're right there.
Yeah. We'll move to James Peatling because he was very good. And looking at his stats, I thought he had more touches than what is on the stat sheet here. But 16, kick 2, 9 kicks, 5 tackles. He had 8 score involvements and just had a really good game, especially in that first half. I think he was another one of those players who really settled us and kept us in front and just steadied the ship, really. Peatling was was a bit of everywhere, really. He was just getting touches all around the ground.
Yeah, he's great, and I think he fades in and out of games a bit, but I don't necessarily think that's an issue, and I think it's probably something that he'll work on and kind of get out of his game eventually. But when he's on, he's fantastic, and again, like you said, his first half was really good, and I think it's kind of an indicator when he passed the eye test so well that you look at his stats and you go, oh, really? Like, did he only touch it like 16 times? Because he felt so much more impactful than that. I think that's a pretty important, like, I don't know what word to use, like indicator that he's playing well, regardless as to if he's only had 16 touches.
Yeah. No, absolutely. There was that. And yeah, like I said, he was just a real calm head. I mean, he's only, 24, 25 years old himself, but he was giving a lot of leadership on the ground and steadying the ship when it was a bit rocky for patches there, and West Coast were sort of getting on top. He sort of steadied it and set us on the right track. So he was very good again. It would be remiss of us not to talk about the big barometer. Shout out to Ambrose, I know you're listening. 45 hitouts today, 18 touches, 10 kicks, 8 handballs, 4 tackles. He kicked a snag. He could have kicked 2 if he kicked it a bit further later in the game as well. He had 12 score involvements and a goal assist. The big fella was doing it all today.
He also became Harley Reid's father, which was nice.
He caught him twice, didn't he, I think?
Yeah, twice. Good gear, because I don't actually hate Harley Reid that much, but it's just nice seeing him get knocked down a peg every now and then, because he's got, that big ego, which you love in footy, but it's funny to see it get kind of brought down a little bit, get him back down to earth.
No, 100%. I fully agree. I am a Harley Reid hater, unfortunately. I love watching him play, but then he just does stuff where you watch him and go, you are just being a real flog. Like, I really don't know. So,
yeah, he's a bit of a pig, that's fair.
Dew is probably A1 of the Harley Reid hater club. I think he was upset with him today, but Dew jumps on the hate train pretty quickly for a few players, so that's all right.
Yeah.
Rob, back to Rob again, of course. He was just doing it all. It was good to have Sweet Caroline. I love that that's his song choice, but I wish it was for someone who kicks more goals.
Yeah, legit.
He was good. He was really, really good.
He dominated that rock, and I can't even, I think it's pretty well established that I am a Rob hater, but he was great today, and I can't even hide from it. Like, I can't even pick on him for his hitouts to advantage, because he had 45 hitouts and 14 of them were to advantage, which I still think could be improved upon, but that's a lot better than it has been recently. And, he took 2 marks inside 50, kicked a goal. I'm not going to say he could have kicked 2, because I don't think he had the distance on him from the second one, but yeah, he was quite good, and I think that's where the barometer nickname comes in quite well, because when he plays well, we tend to play well. And again, it's that thing of consistency. If he played like that every week, we'd be over the moon, and that's probably what he's lost, because obviously a few years ago he was considered one of the premier rucks in the comp. Like, he won a best and fairest. There was all Australian conversation. Like, he was never going to get all Australian because there's a certain bloke called Max Gorn playing. But there was that conversation that was even had, and it's always a thing of if he can get back to that, we'll be laughing. So credit where credit's due, as per. He was great today.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I fully agree. And I mean, he wasn't going against anyone huge. He was going against Matt Flynn and Bailey Williams, who aren't, they're not your premier ruckmans of the competition, but Matt Flynn's not a bum. He's a correct player in his day. And hopefully if Rob can have a game like that next week in Sydney against Brodie Grundy, then then we're talking and we're getting.
I think that'll be a big test for him. If he can back up this week, next week against Grundy, we'll be getting serious.
Yeah, no, 100%. And another man who needs a big game next week, of course, Jordan Dawson, the skipper. Other than burning Josh Rochelle in the last quarter, he had a very good game where he's 27 disposals, 20 kicks, 9 tackles. He kicked 2 goals, 3. He was a bit wayward in front of the sticks, and I think all 3 of those came late, actually. 2 goal assists, 10 score involvements. He had only 40% scoring accuracy, 48 disposal efficiency, but a great game from the skipper. Was everywhere. He's probably not Joshua Shilley's best mate tonight after that.
Yeah, he'll
filthy
buy him a
where
slab.
he
They'll
was,
be
but
Rash will demand something from him. You kind of have to. He's just stopped the bloke from kicking six. So I'm sure there was some kind of conversation after the game.
oh, absolutely, you got to do something after that. That was just filthy. Like you can't be burning the young fella going for six and then miss it as well
As
for
badly
only
as he missed
30
it
out.
too. Yeah, because that was
It
a
was
bad miss. That didn't even get close.
yeah, nah, he's right. He's got credits in the bank, I suppose, so he'll be right. But
Yeah,
just
correct.
just another great game. I mean, he's getting back to his best. As I said, only 48% disposal efficiency, but when you have 27 and kick two and you're tackling everything that moves on the ground, it's all right.
Yeah, yeah, correct. And I think you can't really laud the man enough. Like, yeah, he has his down games, and he's probably not as efficient as you'd like him to be. But I wouldn't want anyone else leading the club at the moment. He's brilliant. He always stands up when we need him to, and dare I say, he's borderline, top three Brownlow at the moment. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. He'd have to be close to the top three of the Brownlow. I think he'd come into favouritism or second favouritism a few weeks ago. But yeah, he'll be right up there. And if he keeps playing games like that, then he'll get the attention because Yumps, he had a decent year last year, but
yeah,
if he keeps
they'll
building on this,
yeah it'll become more obvious, I think, and I it's all right. It's a conversation about the Brownlow. That's a conversation for later in the year. I'm not getting ahead of myself.
yeah, absolutely. I think yeah, he'll be right up there. But yeah, as you say, a bit later in the year, we'll touch back on that and see how we go. But were there any other players from today or any other moments or things you want to highlight before we move on to some feedback from the listeners?
Well, I think Thilthorpe should probably deserve a shout out as well. He was great around the ground. Didn't probably impact the scoreboard as much as he personally and we wanted him to re-multis. But he was great. Proved once again his contested marking is absolutely ludicrous sometimes. All the time, pretty much. He always gets his hands to the ball. It always comes to ground if he's not marking it. And yeah, even like when he's pinch hitting in the ruck, he's the best second ruck in the comp as well. Like, um, I just think he definitely gets enough credit, but just yeah, quick shout out to him. And then Miller as well. I think he was quite nice again as usual. He had a few stinker moments, but he played really well as well. Coming off
Yeah,
his contract extension, which is nice.
no,
Um,
absolutely. I think one other person I want to touch on as well, Rory Laird, has been really good the last few weeks.
yeah,
Had another 27 today and took 11 marks floating through the back line. He was a bit of everywhere. A couple of score involvements, a goal assist. He was doing it all. He's gone back to that half back role and really made it his own again, which is it's good to see. Some of
yeah,
his kicking on occasions is could be better, but that's
yeah.
fine. He's got most of it.
Leaves something to be desired sometimes. But again, like you said, not going to complain. He's playing well, so
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think if you looked at the squad at this time last year, you're probably not even looking or thinking about Rory Laird being in the side at all potentially. But he started this year very well, and hopefully can continue playing that role down back. Because again, he's got a few people knocking on the door for his role in the SANFL. So good to see him back. Obviously, club champion, great player, over 200
yeah,
games, 250 even, I think.
yeah,
Yeah, just a great player. We'll move on to a bit of feedback from the listeners today. Of course, we popped a full-time post up on Twitter and on Instagram. Go and give us a follow at Proper Crows Pod. Daniel Ferraro says it was a very good game. Plain and simple. I rate it.
I like that.
It was, yeah, we touched on him a bit early, but Sam Berry was very good, of course. Esther says Peatling was huge in the first half. Best game I've ever seen from Rob. Third quarter is the type of footy I want to see in more than one quarter of a game. Spot on there, like we were saying earlier.
Yeah,
Alex says some of the kicking in the first half was atrocious. I want to know how many clanger turnovers each player had. Well, we're not going to go through all the stats for that, mate. But yeah, there were a lot. Standards need to be set. We have too many waiting in the twos not to. And Dan, we're going to break this one down because it's a 4-part tweet. Dan was on his shit on the way home after the game. One quarter looked like we expected to play the bottom side and pay them absolutely no respect. Only reason we were in front is because they are the worst at the moment. At least we were consistent 4-2 and 4-3. Third quarter was weird. We probably should have got 10 or 11 against the Witches' hats. Fourth quarter back to the first half standard and 4 goals too. Berry and Rochelle shared honours for best on ground. Filthy battled all day and was instrumental in the third quarter burst. Dominated out of the centre at times. Dawson had some good moments and some bad. Fogg missing for the first half. Then he should be leading our forward line without Tex. Peds was good in his return. Max was clean all day when most others weren't. Worrell was oddly messy. Miller, a quiet achiever, seemed whenever he got involved he was creative and on target. Finally, the 4 recruits. Neil Bullen was solid but lacked influence. A few hesitations to force turnovers. Not 100% sure on that one, but...
I get what he's saying, but yeah.
Yeah, probably a little bit harsh for mine, but
Yeah.
it was, fair call. Peatling needs to find consistency. Strong contested, but disposal can be terrible. Coming almost ready for a stint in the SANFL. Sid, no real impact in a dead game. I think dead game's probably the key points of
correct.
that one there. Was struggled to get him in. We have one comment from @GrahamGoodings on Instagram, but I'm not going to read it due to the disrespectful content to our players. I'm glad to see that you were paying attention to the game, Zach, and hopefully we will see you in Sydney next week for the big game against the Swans. Thank you to everyone who left a comment. Of course, go over to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube @ProperCrowsPod. If you want to share any thoughts, you want to highlight something for us, if there's something we missed on the pod, something you want to hear us talk about in general, let us know. We'll be happy to hear. We'll move to our 3-2-1s now. Dom, who have you got for your one vote?
Now, again, this week was hard to dish the votes out, and it's hard, but I think I'm going to give it to Bez, because again, I think all 3 I'm going to name, you could probably throw a blanket over as to who's the 3, who's the 2, and who's the 1. But I'm going to give the 1 to Bez. Everything I said earlier, pretty much, he was great. He's good with ball in hand. He's good in the contest. He's got that burst that Crouch doesn't have. He hit the scoreboard. It was just an all-round great game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the 1 for me, and it's very stiff to have this kind of game and get the 1 vote, is Jordan Dawson. Of course, he was fantastic and was a bit of the general all over the ground, but the 2 people I have just very slightly ahead of him for this 3-2-1. And I'll tell you what, it's nice to be doing a 3-2-1 where we're not struggling to pick players to go in here, because last week with Dill, after the Pies game, it was hard to pick a 3-2-1. So it's nice to have a bit of a change. 2 for you, Dom?
I've got Dawson at the 2. Self-explanatory again, everything I said earlier. He's just the general. I think would be in some strife if he goes down. He's such a calm head. He commands the troops. He's incredible overhead. Hit scoreboard. Could have been more accurate, but, beggars can't be choosers. So, 2 votes.
No, absolutely. For me, it's Sam Berry. Pretty much highlights everything you said a moment ago. He was very good. I absolutely loved his game. And the 3 votes for you, mate?
Well, I think it's obvious. Joshy, Rochelle, kick 5, 16 disposals. He had 400 metres gained from 16 touches, which I think is elite. 6 tackles, 3 marks. He was good around the ground. He played a lot of game time as well. I think he had about... I don't have it in front of me anymore, but I think it was about 85% time on ground.
He had, 113 minutes out of 130. So, that'd be about that 80% mark.
Yeah, so he was great, and like I said, he's been in good form all year, and it's good to see him finally get some reward for his form and have a day out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I share the sentiment. Josh Rochelle gets my 3 as well, so full votes all around for the Rush, and I think that's very fair considering how he played today.
Yeah.
We'll move on to the news now. Of course, we spoke about this last week. Wayne Miller signed a 3-year contract extension, reported by Cal Toomey probably about a week and a half ago, but now made official by the club. So that is good to hear. The 3 years, I was saying to Dill last week, I thought was probably a little bit interesting considering the injury history. But yeah, happy to keep him around, and rumours are maybe we're signing him in to bring his cousin Naz over. We'll see how that goes.
Oh, dude. Oh, man.
It's a very loose connection, but and probably absolutely no substance to it whatsoever. But you know, if it helps get him across, then so be it.
Do whatever you need to do to get that man in Crows colours. Give Miller a 10 years if you have to.
No, absolutely. And speaking of fun trade scenarios, we had during the week, I think it was Tom Morris on the Channel 9 News was talking about Rowan Marshall potentially to the Crows with the big Tom de Koning news. Well, not really news yet, but rumours that if he goes to St Kilda,
Which he's going to.
Yeah, it seems that way, doesn't it? You know,
You cannot turn down. Yeah, once again, I know this is proper Crows, not proper AFL, but just quickly, if he turns down that much money, he is. I don't know what they're doing at Carlton. They must be magic beans or something, but man, it's like a $5 million difference in money. Like, I don't know how you say no to that. But
no, 100%, and they both suck. So realistically, like, doesn't matter where you go for that sort of money. But yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what happens because the dominoes from that were essentially, obviously, if he goes to St Kilda, that'll probably squeeze Marshall out, which will then have us and I think Geelong were the other team that were named as potentially targeting Rowan Marshall.
yeah,
And then he was linking Rob, who's out of contract, to Carlton and potentially Geelong, and Sean Darcy was thrown in the mix. It was a whole...
it was a mess, yeah.
You need a pinboard and strings and all sorts of different things to put it all together. But if we were to land Rowan Marshall, it would be...
Oh, mate, forget Rowan Marshall and Naz. I'm so sorry to all St Kilda supporters, but man, wow.
As if 97 wasn't bad enough, hey?
Yeah.
Yes. Cream on the top.
Steal your next bloody All-Australian halfback, the new Andrew McLeod, and take your borderline All-Australian ruckman. No worries.
I'll take it. Let's make it happen.
For the record, though,
right now.
Yeah. For the record, there was, I don't know if this was confirmed or not, but apparently we offered Rob a 2-year deal on reduced money that he isn't keen on, which I think fed into this story a little bit. I can't remember where I read that, and I don't know if that was a credible source or not, so maybe don't quote me on that, and I'll... Actually, let me see if I can find it now. But yeah, that's interesting to me if it did actually happen, because reducing someone's salary when you're a senior player is interesting to me, to say the least.
It's very stiff as well, considering he's like the only ruckman on our list who's touching AFL or anywhere near it. It'd be
yeah, literally. I can't find the tweet right now and under duress, but if I find it, I'll do my best to tweet it and reference the pod. But yeah, that's I think that might be a reason Tom Morris brought it up. But yeah, interesting if true.
Very, very interesting. Did sound like one of Adam Cooney's mega trades, but you know, if it comes to fruition, I certainly won't.
Ruck merry-go-rounds aren't exactly unheard of either, so it's
feasible.
I still don't think Carlton would be super happy to take on Rob. Going from TDK to Rob is rough, but
that's a crazy downgrade.
Yeah, like I love Rob, but he's not the same. He's not even the same type of player, which I think is an issue for Carlton. Like TDK is so agile, and Rob is Rob. So I love the man. To be honest, I'd hang so much shit on him, but he's such a good bloke to have around the club. I would be upset if he left, but
yeah,
it's hard to say no to if that kind of deal was actually on the table, I think.
Yeah, no, exactly right. If you got Rowan Marshall sitting in front of you, you're probably taking it 9 times out of 10, unless there's some other incredible player just sitting there waiting for you. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Obviously, those conversations will heat up a little bit towards the end of the year, and we'll cover it as it comes out. But We'll stay tuned and keep our ears pricked to see if anything else comes out. But yeah, we'll go
Yeah.
from there. Moving on to the SANFL now. The Crows went down to Sturt on Saturday afternoon at, what's it called now? It's only oval, but
Thomas Farms Oval.
that's the one. 12-3-75 to 15-8-98. No surprises to see Burgess at the top of the goal kicking list for us again. But who else kicked snags for us, mate?
So Billy Dowling, Brody Smith, both with 2 each, and then Cook, Gallagher, Murphy, and O'Leary all kicked 1 as well. I am unfortunately a double blue supporter. I obviously do have a soft spot for the Crows because they're the Crows, and I'm always going to support them. So I did watch this with. I tried to, have my Crows glasses on as well, but I unfortunately was locked in a bit to the Sturt side of it rather than the Crows side. But, there was a few standout performances for the Crows as usual. Charlie Edwards had another cracking game, which I think is kind of where the coming conversation happens because he had 26, had 10 marks, 3 inside 50s. Brody Smith had 24 and kicked 2. Billy Dowling had 22 and kicked 2. Like, there's a lot of pressure coming up from the SANFL at the moment, which is why I think there's a lot of pressure on coming.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's that many players who are just looking to push through and get into the squad. Isaac Covey probably just needs to lift a little bit just to keep him at bay, but you've got a couple of people absolutely smacking down the door at the moment in the SANFL.
It was nice to see Strawny back as well. I don't know if that was kind of made... I don't think that made really big news, which I thought it probably should have, because given what he kind of sacrificed,
Yeah.
re his list spot. But yeah, so he actually played his first game back since his injury. He didn't really do much. He had 5 touches and 9 hit-outs, I think, which is actually, quite low for his standards. But again, it was his first game back from an injury, and he's got McAndrew on the side as well now, who did have quite a good game. He had 35 hit-outs, 13 touches. So, yeah, I thought that was just worth a quick mention that Strawny was back.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm intrigued to see the how we managed to get him back, and I can't wait for all the SANFL fans to be crying because we get special rules for us and all of that sort of
correct.
stuff to get him back in the team. But interesting to see what the agreement is. Like, is it an every week thing? Was it just last week? Is he eligible for AFL? He's probably not eligible for AFL, but it was good to see him back around on the floor.
I'll see if I can Google it real quick if it comes up in there. No, there's not even like the club didn't even post an article about it, so
yeah, interesting. Just keeping it on the down
I'm not
low
sure.
So no one hears about it.
Yeah, disregard everything I just said.
No, absolutely. And of course, Billy Dowling, 22 touches, 2 goals. Brody Smith, 24 touches, 2 goals. They both had very, very good games. I mean, we've said it before. I don't know if we'll see Brody Smith touching the team again, but
he's bloody.
He's maintaining form.
Yeah, he's definitely knocking on the door, as are the rest of them. Which, it kind of gives a little bit of traction to the people that comment on people having their spot in the side when we've got these players in the SANFL averaging 25 and a goal. Yeah, it's a good problem to have, I think, having that many players that are getting their hands on the pill and hitting the scoreboard. It's not exactly a bad thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You want your twos to be firing, and they are at the moment. I mean, they came up against Sturt, who I think they're undefeated still at the moment, are they? 6-0?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so they're rolling along well. We're rolling
7-0, actually. Sorry, this is a Crows podcast.
Nah, absolutely. But, I think, what are we, we're 5-2?
Yeah, I think we're 5-2. I think we've only lost to... Who did we lose to? It was Centrals or something weird. Yeah, we're 5-2.
Yeah. No, we lost, I think, early in the year, maybe round 1, I think. But
no, we lost in round 4.
There we go.
So whoever we played in round 4. See if I can get it up quickly, because it was someone we shouldn't have lost. Oh, Woodville, I think. Because there was the Eagles, because we got quite close at the end of the third quarter, and then they just blew us out in the last quarter. Yeah, it was Woodville.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. But they're going relatively well overall. And it's good to see some of those boys playing really well. Chris Burgess just absolutely dominating. Every time I pull up the stats, he's just kicked 4, kicked 5.
Yeah,
6,
literally.
he's just doing it all. So,
He's
as we,
he's one of those poor players that's probably too good for the Sandford, but he can't make it work at AFL level.
yeah, no, exactly. You can probably lock him in for the Ken Farmer medalist, but you probably can't get him into an AFL squad. But
Yeah, genuinely.
bit unlucky, but it is what it is. I don't know who we play this week, but we'll be too busy in Sydney to be worrying about that.
Facts, dude.
At any point, but I'm sure we'll check the stats and maybe a bit of a replay before we record next week. But interesting to see if the boys keep rolling along in the twos as well, and if any of those guys get rewarded for their form, because they are in some very good form.
Yeah.
We'll move on to proper classics now. This week we'll be looking at round 13, 2009, as requested by Ambrose. From memory, I think this is a Jason Paul Pleasure classic. It was Amy Stadium. I think Bernie Vince dominated. Ports might have kicked 3 or 4 goals, I think. Just a great win. So that'll go up probably Thursday morning, first thing. Be a great watch. I think the last 3 games that I've put up have been from 2009, so it's clearly a good year.
Yes.
Even though
Something in the water in 2009, apparently.
it's something. I mean, did we even make finals? Yeah, we would have made finals. Is that
Yeah, I think so.
Is that the right in front of me year? No, that was 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a couple of good games in 2009, and we'll have another one up this week. Moving on to the present day, of course, 2025. We've got round 12 taking on the Swans at the SCG next Saturday night. Of course, the Swans got absolutely smacked by the Demons today at the MCG. 10 goals. And the Swans were just never in it. They don't look particularly good at the moment. 4 and 7.
Nope.
Not travelling very well at all. And I think to the point where we're actually favourites.
Indeed, we are. We are favourites going into Sydney in Sydney, which I did not think would ever happen anytime soon.
That's insane.
Which is both a very good reflection of us and also kind of a terrible reflection on where the Swans are at, because, yeah, they were not good today. They were not good.
No, absolutely. I think the last few, really, they've not been particularly great. So we'll go up there. Callum Mills came back into the squad this week, but he'll probably be taking a week or 2 on the sidelines, which is obviously a positive for us.
If Alex Pearce got 3, he'll definitely get at least 2, I think. So he won't be there next week.
No, absolutely. He has to get a week or 2, and I'm not saying that just from my bias. I think the precedent's been set by other players, so he probably won't be playing there. Do you have any changes from our side from this week? Do you think Tex comes back in? Anyone maybe put into the twos? Anyone comes
I
up
think the weather depends on whether or not Tex comes back in. Yes, if it's going to be dry, I'd bring Tex back in. I don't really want to see Sid dropped. He didn't really do anything wrong. He was actually, 9 touches and a quarter of footy is actually quite impressive, but it's hard to see how else Tex gets back in the side, except for maybe Taylor. But it's the thing of Taylor had 1 bad game, and I think that warrants dropping him. But yeah, it's definitely a watch, because I'm not necessarily sure what other changes would be made, except like we already kind of flagged, Cummings been quiet. But I doubt he'll get dropped just yet.
Yeah. No, I tend to agree. And just having a look at the weather at the moment, it's going to be 19 degrees, but it's going to be clear pretty much all day. 20% chance of rain, but that all comes early in the afternoon, so should be pretty dry for the whole game, really.
Yeah, so I'd say Tex comes back in, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see how we go.
Yeah,
it's definitely a watch. I think it'll be interesting. It wouldn't shock me if we go in unchanged, but I think Tex will come back in. Just don't know who for.
No, I tend to agree. And that's the hard thing about our squad at the moment, is it's so hard to predict who does come in and out, because the twos are playing so well, the ones are playing pretty well, and it's, trying to get inside Nixie's head to see what he wants to do, really, to try and make any sort of predictions. But
yeah, correct.
keeps us on our toes every week, that's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And that's both a good thing and a bad thing. It makes selection not interesting at least, but also quite stressful sometimes. So
Nah, absolutely. It's very, very scary sometimes on a Thursday night driving home from work, not knowing what we're going to see in the team, but
yeah.
all part of the fun. What are your predictions for the game, mate? Who wins, how much, and who kicks the most goals?
Well, I'm gonna go the Crowies. I'll back us in. I'll go 4 goals. I won't go too far off because I still think Sydney is a tough ask. I think they're a different side in Sydney than they are in a
Oh, yeah.
state. But I still think we'll get it done, especially if we play our best footy. We'll get it done comfortably. Thilf should have a big game. I'll back him in to be first goal scorer, and I also reckon he'll kick. I'll give him 4. I want him to have a good. He deserves a bag. He's played well the past few weeks, just hasn't quite got on the scoreboard because his kicking's been a bit average. So I'll back him in to ride it and kick 5.
Yeah. Nah, absolutely. I tend to agree with all of that, really. I think Crows by a couple of goals. I'll go 15 points. And I'm going Fogg to bounce back because I won't be touching him with any sort of multiple goal scorers. And, of course, naturally, when we do that, he's probably going to go off and kick, 15 goals this week. So I think that's what will happen, though I do agree with your Philthorpe call. The last game of last year over there, he was marking absolutely everything against their defence, and that was Tex playing? I don't even know if Tex was playing, but he was just doing it all. And in the form that he's in at the moment, good luck sticking absolutely anyone on him because he'll probably just run through and still take marks everywhere.
Yeah, correct. Well said. Very well said.
Absolutely. And well, other than that, mate, I don't think there's too much else. Of course, if you're listening, head over to the socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, at Proper Crows Pod. Give us a follow, give us a like, comment on whatever we're posting or whatever it may be. Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We very much appreciate that. And, of course, it helps us push into the algorithm of other Crows supporters. Other than that, mate, is there anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, I think. Actually, quickly, injury report. We forgot to mention that, and I only just saw it because it's one of my tabs open.
Yeah.
So Nick Murray ran this week, which is a very good sign. He's still listed at 3 to 4 weeks, but he should be back around the time of the bye. So I'm assuming he'll probably not play until after the bye. But good news. And then Crouch is still listed at 4 to 6, which is a bit rough. Given I think he was initially listed at 4 to 6. So yeah, and then obviously Toby Murray's still out for quite a bit. He started doing some more strength work, but he's got at least a few months before he's back training properly. But yeah, sorry, I just thought we'd give that a quick mention because I saw it open in my tabs and realised I forgot to bring it up. So my bad.
No, absolutely. Thank you very much for bringing that up. And a few boys there who, look like they're going to be on the sidelines for a little bit of time, but hopefully get back and firing as soon as possible. But other than that, I'll see you in Sydney next week, mate. I believe you're making the trek across as well.
Indeed, I will be there.
Beautiful. Well, I'll see you then. And thank you, everyone, for listening. And go Crows.
Go Crows.
Ring the bell!